US President Donald Trump has unveiled a new document outlining his vision for US foreign policy and how to deal with the threat of conflict with China. The National Security Strategy, released on Friday, keeps the defence of Taiwan a priority but urges Indo-Pacific allies to share more of the burden. Preventing conflict requires a vigilant posture in the Indo-Pacific, the document reads. A renewed defence industrial base, greater military investment from ourselves and from allies and partners, and winning the economic and technological competition over the long term. For more on this, let's now speak to Huong Le Thu. She's Deputy Director Asia at the International Crisis Group. Great to have you with us. Let's start with the broad view. What does this new security strategy signal about Washington's priorities in Asia, do you think?
Well, this document has been quite anticipated, especially given the more unpredictable nature of foreign policy under President Trump, his second term. And everybody was asking what are the continuity there and what are the new things there. Of course, documents such as this one is declaratory by nature. So we always have to keep that in mind. And there is the declaration and there are deeds that would follow. But from this document, we see that Indo-Pacific is being embraced, again, the concept very much of it, which President Trump actually embraced under his first term. So we see certain continuity there. But the Asia focus is both a good or a vigilant sort of embrace from the region. Good that it is being mentioned quite prominently in the Indo-Pacific concept, but not so good that it is quite dominated by China, and especially in terms of how US sees its relations with China. And every actor in the region, whether they're partners or allies, in this, according to this document, have their role in helping United States to balance China and prevent Chinese dominance. So there is this very instrumental, transactional, and perhaps in the frame of in more narrowly defined self-interest of United States, calling allies not only to help US to balance China, but also shoulder more heavy weight in that regard. So in that regard, I think the Asian allies are ambivalent about the document. It seems, but overall, that the European allies had more attention, even criticism in the document. So in the balance, perhaps for Asia, it isn't that bad. But obviously, it is helpful to have those guidelines.
You talk about the European allies and the US and NATO relationship, I guess, we're keeping that in mind. Do you expect Washington to push Asian allies like Japan, South Korea and the Philippines to take on more defensive and financial responsibilities for costs here, like Trump did with NATO?
Well, there is an emphasis on allies to spend more, especially for South Korea, Japan, and Australia. Philippines and Thailand don't even get a mention in terms of Southeast Asian allies. Southeast Asia and the Pacific partners hardly get a mention, and again, in very much context of helping balance China, and also in terms of economic competition. So this document talks about security issues, security in the name of the document, and also military balance and deterring China. But at the core of it, it introduced economic edge. By achieving deterrence by economic edge of United States and allies. So actually limiting China's economic growth, having partners and allies joining those efforts. So it's intertwined, military and economics, but it is quite obvious for that this administration that keeping the economic edge is the way to deter conflicts in the Indo-Pacific.
Huong Le Thu, we'll leave it there. Deputy Director Asia at the International Crisis Group. Great to get your input today. Thanks.